Well, joining us now is Marco Vicenzino. He is Global Strategy Advisor and Geopolitical Risk Specialist. Joins us now from New York. First of all, I want to pick up on this US delegation in Damascus. How extraordinary is it that this key US delegation member has met Ahmed al-Shara? I mean, he is, yes, the leader of Syria's new administration, but he's also a wanted terrorist in the US.
Yes, I mean, it's new regional realities will dictate policy for many players in Syria and many players in the region and players externally. With the U.S., basically, yes, HTS is on the terrorist list. There was a bounty until recently, a bounty on the head of Jolani for $10 million bounty. So, but the thing is that even with and primarily with Jolani's interest is to have Syria removed from that terrorist list and eventually have sanctions on Syria lifted. When a group is on a terrorist list, the U.S. government cannot provide any form of material support for them, but can engage in communication with them. And that's exactly what this delegation is doing. This delegation is, once again, adapting to new regional realities. It caught most players in Syria and the region and abroad. It caught them off guard, the events of the downfall. So I think everyone is struggling right now, but the political process will be driven primarily by Syrians on the ground. And outsiders have to take, at this point, a wait-and-see approach and be very, very patient and see how events unfold on the ground.
So the US's delegation's almost gone as far as it can right now, meeting and talking to the new administration. Who then decides to remove HTS and Ahmed al-Shara from the terrorist list and then lift sanctions?
That takes a process, and that's not something that'll be done by the Biden administration has a few weeks left. But the issue is this becomes very political, not just in the U.S., but around the world, because other countries, Europe, Turkey, have them on a terrorist list. So it has to be sort of a wait-and-see approach. The words coming from Jolani and HTS seem to appear encouraging, but it has to be backed up by actions on the ground. And those actions on the ground will take time to unfold. Hence, there'll be a parallel track before taking anyone off a terrorist list or lifting any sanctions. A process has to begin, and a process has to ensue. Confidence-building measures over time, and then slowly a decision will be made. I don't think there's enough time for the Biden administration to make that decision. That's something that's going to have to be decided by a new U.S. administration with Donald Trump. And in light of events on the ground, there has to be a strategic rethink of U.S. policy in the Middle East. It has to adapt to new realities, and it's going to require a combination of both diplomatic and security. Until now in Syria, the U.S. primary focus with its 900 troops in eastern Syria and the enclaves has been to contain radical forces, or those of Islamic State. But right now, with the new realities, that pure military, that largely military approach is going to have to be balanced with a very skillful diplomatic approach.
It certainly is, especially as in that northeastern part that you're talking about. We've got the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowing to wipe out the very Kurdish fighters that the US is allied with there.
Yes, I mean, that's an ongoing, continuing issue that has divided the U.S. and its ally, Turkey. It's a NATO ally, not just a simple ally, but a NATO ally. So this is part of that unfolding process. It's a remember, for the U.S., the SDF, which is largely a Kurdish force, but also includes other elements, has played a stabilizing factor for the U.S. in eastern Syria. One example is a prison that's under SDF guard, that is 10,000 Islamic State prisoners. If something were to happen, if violence were to ensue and the SDF were to fall apart, the question is what happens with those 10,000 prisoners? Do they go back to re-engage in insurgency? And that's so you have to balance. So Turkey has its interests, primarily not just the Kurdish element, but also the refugees issue. Turkey is the country that has most to gain from a stable Syria and the most to lose from an unstable Syria. because once again, the refugees, everyone thinks that the refugees from Turkey, the Syrian refugees in Lebanon, Syrian refugees in Europe are all going to go back now. That's going to take time. Another process and another issue that needs to be dealt with, because many of these refugees are living in places where they at least have some degree of stability, and they don't know exactly what they're going home to next.
Absolutely. Okay, Marco Vicenzino, many thanks indeed for taking the time to join us again there from New York.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.